this is Gear Up Easy and I'm back with another video. Today I'll be discussing on the topic open authorization, which is also known as auth. So this is very crucial topic, and if you ever wonder to understand the basics and you feel that it's quite difficult and complex, that how actually thing is working for this protocol, then this is the perfect video for you, because I am going to explain you each and everything in a very simple terms relating to day-to-day life example. So let's get started. So what I'll be covering? I'll be covering what auth is and what it is used for. Where do you see it into day-to-day life, or have you seen somewhere but you are not able to get what actually it is? How does it work, the mechanism? And at the end, I'll be covering the security perspective for this auth protocol. So what and why? First of all, auth is an open standard and a protocol which was basically meant for providing authorization between the services, but with a limited access. Suppose there is an application using which you can edit photos. All right, you get an option to upload a photo, but you get an option to access from your cloud drives. In this case, suppose Google Drive. So how does this happen? How application gets a permission or authority to access the photos that is stored on your drive? So this is what actually auth does. It provides permission to that application. Suppose in this case Canva is your application and you want to access the photos that is being stored on the Google Drive. So auth provides the permission to Canva to access photos from Google Drive, and the permission is limited in the sense that only photos can be accessed, not the contacts or other backup details. Also, the auth functionality is being utilized for the purpose of authentication, all, which means that one can verify as being authentic and real what it claims to be. Suppose you are going to log in into an application, then how that application is going to decide whether you are the one who is trying to log in, or there's someone else who is trying to log in? So it covers two functionalities: authorization. Using authorization, authentication is being performed. So where do we see it? In day to day life, we have many examples, but I'm taking the examples of Indeed because most of you have seen Indeed and utilize this platform to search for a job, right? So when you visit the application for the very first time, you see a option of giving your own email and proceed, but instead you get an option of continue with Google, continue with Apple, and in some cases some application also give you an option of continue with LinkedIn. So when you click on this button, continue with Google, you don't have to provide the email address. Everything goes automatically once you provide the credential of the Google. So some people who are not so technical, they asked me that whether we provide the credentials of the Google, so will it not get compromised? What does really happens when we give the credentials here? And I don't know what is the mechanism. So the video is for them as well. This will help them to understand what actually happens. So how does it work? Before starting, I would like to tell you that there are different flow which are also known as grant types in auth, and based on the application requirement, the desired flow can be selected. There are multiple flows: client credential, resource owner credential, client authorization code, implicit flow. Client authorization and implicit flow are widely used, so I'll be covering this. But initially, in the layman term, I would like to explain the process. So this is basic flow which I have created, and these are the terms which one must be aware with technical perspective. So one is the resource owner, second is the client, the authorization server, and the resource server. Resource owner is someone who owns that resource. So suppose for your Google Drive, the images you uploaded, so you are the owner of those images. So you are the resource owner. Client is the application which is going to access your resource. In this case, the editor application. Many of you can relate using Canva. The third is the authorization server. This server will give the authorization to the client what sort of permission he wants and the limited usage to the resources. And at the end, client will ask to access the resources from the resource server where actually the resource is. That means your Google Drive, where the photos are stored. So the initial step is you visit on that application. Suppose Canva and you want to edit an image. You see an option of importing an image from Google Drive. At the backend, the client will initiate a request to the authorization server. The authorization server then asks for consent. Sometimes you see you get a pop-up and a notification as well on the application saying that this and this application, that means the client or the Canva application, wants to access the photos which is present on your drive. So the authorization server asks for the consent to the resource owner whether to permit this or not. Once you click on yes, permit, yes, I agree, the grant is provided to the authorization server. Post that, the authorization server gives a access token to the client which is required to proceed further. Without this access token, the client cannot access the resources that is present on the drive. Once the access token is granted to client go to the resource server and ask for the images using this access token. The resource server checks for the access token and validate it. Once the validation gets successful, the images are provided to the client app, that is the Canva software, and you are able to import the images from the drive to the Canva software and can edit it. So this is how auth works. By giving permissions to your Google images, the limited permissions of your Google images to a third party or a client, this is the basic flow of the protocol or a standard. Now we'll see for the flow which is known as authorization code flow. This is a client application. You click on login with Google. Okay. Then the authorization request is being sent to the authorization server of Google. Then you get a pop-up in your phone. You approve it. The approval goes to the authorization server of Google. Google gives a code to the authorization code to the client app. Client app take that authorization code, client secret and grant type to the Google server, authorization server, asking for an access token. Then after checking the authorization code and validating it, Google authorization server provide access token to the client app. Then client app, which is a third party, goes to the resource server of the Google and ask for user info. So you already logged in to your Google account. Your details are already stored on the Google server. That details are being asked. The details could be your email ID and your username. This is the resource which this client application is going to ask for. The resource server of the Google provide that email ID and username, validating that this is a valid user, and that details are being sent to the client app, and client gets and you get logged into this client application without signing up from initially, you can use that sign in with Google, sign in with uh, LinkedIn, or sign in with Apple, and you can sign in without any hassle. And from the very next time, you don't have to enter the credentials. Now let's see the implicit flow. The implicit flow is same as the authorization code flow, but uh, the difference is post the authorization, post the consent is provided to the authorization server, where you give your consent that yes, I want to log in. The consent could be a pop-up, or the consent could be entering your credentials. Post that, instead of giving the authorization code and having a secure connection server to server call, the access token is directly sent to the web application or the client application via the browser. The complete process goes through via the browser. And in the case of authorization server, one was able to see by the browser till step 3, but after that, from step 4 to step 7, one is not able to see what actually is happening. So it is secure, and it is the secure flow which must be utilized in each application. So in the case of implicit, this is the major missing. So after the access token is after the consent is provided, the access token is directly granted to the client application, and that access token is being used with the client secret, and the request is being made to the resource server. Resource server provide the user data, and the person gets logged into the client application or the application for which the user clicked or you clicked to sign in with Google. So there, this is the drawback, which we can see that all the traffic is going through via the browser. One can observe it, one can manipulate it, but the authorization code flow is secure in this perspective. So this is how auth works. Now security perspective, there will be a separate complete video, because this video gets very long if I cover this security perspective. I'll be coming up with a new video with much more detailed analysis. Thank you.